There's a fascinating place dedicated to telling the stories about Kentucky's African-American heritage that were in danger of being forgotten. Remarkable People, Remarkable Stories is told by Michael Morrow, who has spearheaded the establishment and growth of the West Kentucky African-American Heritage Museum and Research Center.
A guy came to me and he told me they were forming a Black History Museum in here and they wanted me to help them work on the museum. And I got up and started working on the museum. That's what I've been doing ever since. I'm the janitor, the curator, the archivist, set up the exhibits, and tour guide for the West Kentucky African American Museum and Research Center. I'm from Russellville, Kentucky, and I was a descendant of slaves here in Russellville and Logan County. I had an interest in history. I wanted to take history and use it as a teaching tool for young kids. And I wanted to change my neighborhood. Often in our community, people feel inferior because they don't know about themselves. And once you look into our history and you look at our people and you understand your ancestors, there's a lot there to be proud of. But most young people don't see that, so I try to use history as a tool to teach them that. I had one kid to come to the museum, and he didn't realize that his great-grandfather was one of the early educators here. And when I showed him a picture of him as a teacher, he said, huh? So he went back and told his mama how excited he was to find out that his great-granddaddy was a teacher. I have kids that come and I teach them that their great-great-grandfathers were Civil War soldiers and where they fought at and what they done. And then once I tell them it makes them feel different about themselves. They feel like they're somebody. It builds pride in the community and in the neighborhood. You let people understand that, as Jesse Jackson so famously said, we are somebody. We have contributed. We did do things. We did make a difference. Allison Dunnigan was an African-American woman from Russellville, Kentucky, who was the first African-American woman in the White House press corps. She started out as a little kid writing for the Orangeboro paper and the Louisville Leader, and that eventually led her to a career in journalism. She was also a teacher, and because she couldn't find anything on Black history, she came up with these Black history facts, and she would eventually turn that into a book, From the Schoolhouse to the White House. She was very prominent in the civil rights movement, too. She worked with Thurgood Marshall, Roy Wilkins, Andy Young, Dr. King, and different ones like that. The Morton Kimbrough House, it was named after a guy named Alec Kimbrough and the Morton family, who were the original owners of it. The exhibit in it deals with Marianne Fisher. Marianne Fisher was a blues singer in the 1940s and 50s. She was a headliner with Ray Charles. They called her the Songbird of the South. She was originally from Henderson, Kentucky. She was adopted at Russellville and ended up living in Louisville. She sang for a lot of people as background singer, B.B. King, Lil Milton, different ones like that. So that's what that exhibit deals with. And we also have a Marianne Fisher concert series. We have 3 concerts a year that are dedicated to Marianne Fisher and her singing the blues. The Cooksey House, it was named after Solomon Cooksey and his family. They were educators and they were free Blacks. In that house, we have an exhibit dealing with a lynching that occurred here in 1908. They were actually hanged to scare Black people. I've had people to walk in and burst into crying. I've had people to walk in and cuss and walk out and slam the door. I've had people to walk in and drop to their knees and pray. I had a group of some that came in and seen it and just started singing gospels. People have different reactions to it, but it's a necessary story. So many people for so long didn't think African-American history was important. It wasn't until the 60s that America really woke up, but for a long time, nobody cared. It didn't seem important. What we do at the African American Museum, we have to recreate a lot of things to use them as tools to teach our people about our history. If you want to teach your kids something about history, come visit us. If you want to learn about your family history, come visit us. We're here, we're ready, and we're willing. come visit the West Kentucky African American Museum and Research Center.
This is just one of many stories that can be heard and experienced only in Kentucky.